The story begins with a girl breaking through the wooden hut door, running for her life through the woods, barely making it to the road, and almost getting hit by a car. The woman driving gets out to check on the poor girl, only to see her crying over her severed hand. Somewhere else, Sarah is pregnant and already having contractions. Her husband John wonders if the baby is coming earlier than expected. The couple quickly packs and heads to the hospital, where Sarah starts giving birth. At the same time, the psychopath who tortures young girls realizes that one of them has escaped. He gets out of the house naked, where the SWAT team is waiting for him. But he refuses to surrender and gets multiple shots in his chest. Falling to the ground, he's still holding the severed hand of a young girl from before. One life has ended, but another one has begun, strangely, with the same blood marks on both of them. 4 months later, little Miles has different eye colors. The condition is called heterochromia, really rare, but genetically transmissible. Once receiving his vaccine, Miles doesn't make a sound, and Sarah wonders if everything is okay with her baby, saying that even though he's only 4 months old, Miles has already been using a few words. But the doctor assures her there's nothing wrong, and that Miles is simply developing early. At only 5 years old, Miles's IQ needs to be tested, and the results show that his intelligence is off the charts. The doctors tell Sarah that even though his brain is highly developed, there are certain areas that appear to be delayed. At only 8 years old, Miles already seems to be showing some strange behavior, like that one time his parents hired a babysitter so they could enjoy a night out, and Miles wanted to play hide and seek. But while the babysitter was counting, he took off a light bulb, placing shattered glass all over the stairs. When asked about it, Miles started crying, acting traumatized by the event, making it all look like an accident. One night, Sarah is awakened by strange noises coming from Miles's room. She goes to check it out, only to see Miles talking in his sleep. She's visibly confused and starts recording it. The words are strange, the language unfamiliar. Just like that, he wakes up, telling his mother that he had a good dream. Miles goes to a school for gifted children, but one day, he grabs a wrench and viciously beats one of the kids there. His parents obviously take him to a therapist, who asks him a series of questions. But Miles is a skilled manipulator. He pretends to be cute and makes himself look like the victim. Sarah also gives Doctor the tape of Miles's talk in his sleep. But the only question she has for Sarah is whether Miles is suffering from abuse at home. This starts a huge argument at home. Obviously, John is the first to feel accused, revealing his own history with his father, who used to abuse him when he was little. But John promises that he has processed all of his childhood trauma, and that he would never lay a hand on their son. Standing in the shadows, Miles is closely observing the chaos he has created. Later that night, Sarah once again hears Miles talking in his sleep. This time, he wakes up abruptly, saying that someone is in here. But when she tells him that there's no one else in the house, he points to his own head, repeating that someone else is in here with him. Meanwhile, the therapist is listening to the tape of Miles talking in his sleep. The next day, she introduces Sarah to Arthur, who has dedicated his life to researching reincarnation. He replays gibberish from Miles's dream, explaining that it's not gibberish at all, saying that he has successfully translated the words, and that the language is Hungarian, specifically spoken near the Romanian border. And the creepiest thing he noticed is that once Miles woke up, he said that he had a good dream, but the words he actually spoke were, and I quote, "Shut up, or I'll cut your eyes out. I'm going to watch you die," and so on. Continuing with more and more disturbing things. Arthur then tells her about his research and a 6-year-old boy he met in India, who was talking about his previous life in a village he had never even seen. Once Arthur took him there, the boy knew his way around. He led him to the house where he was born, introduced him to his mother, who was then an 80-year-old woman. He even sang a song to her while she was lying on her deathbed. Arthur explains that these souls return for a reason, to complete something left unfinished, like the little boy from India, who never had a chance to say goodbye to his mother. He tries to tell Sarah that there is a battle being waged inside her son, a war between his natural soul and the older one, and one of these souls will become dominant while the other will be absorbed. Sarah doesn't believe any of this and wants to leave. But before leaving, the therapist gives her a CD, simply asking her to watch it. Later at home, Sarah decides to take a look at the CD, which is about Arthur's study on reincarnation and people claiming to remember their past lives. But John overhears what Sarah has been watching and tells her not to believe in such nonsense, even though Sarah doesn't truly believe in it either. It slowly starts getting to her, and she begins seeing someone else in her son. Later that night, instead of sleeping, Miles is sharpening scissors inside the garage. The next morning, the dog is nowhere to be found. John takes Miles to go searching for the dog. But Miles starts saying creepy things, like that it would be perfectly normal if the dog had died, telling his father that he will also die one day. John tells him not to speak to him like that, but Miles asks him what he will do, asking if he's going to hit him, like his father used to do to him. John is confused, wondering how could Miles even know those stuff. And that's when he notices a camera hidden behind a picture frame. Realizing that Miles has been spying on them, he immediately snaps at Miles, who just pretends to be scared. Later that night, Sarah is awakened by flies buzzing inside the house. She follows the sound to the basement, where she finds a pool of blood coming from a wooden cabinet, but it's nailed shut. That's when Miles appears from the darkness, telling her to use the hammer. And upon opening the cabinet, the image is truly disturbing. Their dog is dead, and its paws have been cut off. The next day, she brings Miles to Arthur, who tries to hypnotize him, with the goal of identifying the person inside Miles's body, and more importantly, finding out what he wants. Arthur begins speaking Hungarian and asks him who he is. He responds that he's Miles now, and Arthur tells him that if he's trapped somewhere inside, he needs to tell him the name of the person who possessed his body. Miles appears to be having an inner struggle, a battle between two souls as he screams. He then begins threatening Arthur, saying that he has strong medications in his bathroom. And when Arthur says that everything there is legal, Miles responds that it's not if you give them to a minor against his will, asking him what will happen when the police find pubic hairs he took from Arthur's toilet between his teeth, along with drugs from Arthur's cabinet inside his blood. He then tells Arthur to inform Sarah that he was wrong, and that there's no one else inside Miles's body. Seeing that he has been completely outsmarted, Arthur does exactly as he is told. But upon returning to his office, he sees a name on the chair, scratched into it with nails. Once Sarah returns home, John is waiting for her, standing over their dead dog. He tells her he doesn't feel safe with Miles being in the house, gently asking her to put him inside a mental hospital. In the middle of the night, Sarah receives a call from Arthur, who tells her to sit at her computer, saying that during their session, Miles must have heard him from somewhere deep inside and gave him a name, Edward Skark. As she searches for him, Arthur tells her to zoom in on his eyes, also telling her that at the exact same time Edward was killed, Miles was born. Not just the same year, not just the same day, it was exactly the same minute. He then reveals that Edward killed 9 women over the span of 5 years. The last victim, the 10th one, managed to escape, but not before he cut off her hand. They all had their hands removed. That was his trademark. The survivor, Margaret, led the police to him when they gunned him down, telling Sarah that they need to find out the reason why he has come back, what Edward wants, and that this is the only way to free her son. The next day, Sarah tells John everything she knows. He goes to Miles's school to pick him up and take him to the mental hospital. While she's packing his things at home, she discovers his secret stash. Inside is a book titled Hands of Death, and the author is Margaret, the only survivor of Edward's terror. At that moment, she becomes 100% sure that Miles is not really Miles, and she realizes why Edward has come back. He's returned for Margaret. He still has one unfinished job, and he wants her dead. Meanwhile, John is crying while telling Miles that they still love him. Suddenly, his seatbelt is cut, and Miles stabs him in the stomach with scissors, causing the vehicle to crash. As Sarah rushes to the hospital, John is in critical condition. His brain is swelling, he's lost a lot of blood, and he is in a coma. On the other hand, Miles is perfectly fine. He pretends to be scared and claims he doesn't remember anything. Sarah puts him in the back seat and gives him a pill that quickly puts him to sleep. She keeps a gun on the passenger seat, determined to take care of what he came back for. She drives day and night for hours until she reaches Margaret's house, telling her that she wants to talk about her book. Asking her to come inside, Margaret lets her in, and the two begin talking. Sarah finds out that Margaret also has children, and even though she has been through so much, she is still a wonderful person. Sarah rushes to the bathroom and throws up, feeling sick from knowing what she has to do. Repeating how sorry she is as she loads the gun, she then comes out and points it at Margaret. Margaret starts begging for her life, and Sarah simply can't bring herself to do it. Suddenly, Miles appears asking Margaret which of his eyes she likes better. She mumbles that it's what Edward asked her the night he cut off her hand. Before she can even blink, Miles stabs her with a knife. Margaret is overpowered as Miles cuts her stomach wide open, whispering that she should have never left him. Then he simply walks out of the house, hoping that all this chaos is finally over. Sarah begins searching for Miles. But when she finds him, he admits that Miles has been gone for a long time now, and that he always knew she would lead him right to Margaret. She pulls out a gun, saying that he can't have her son's body. A gunshot echoes through the air, but it's just a nearby hunter who thinks he has successfully saved an innocent child, while Sarah is left bleeding on the ground. Months later, Child Services have found a new foster family for Miles. He glances at the woman's hand and just smiles. Inside his new room, he looks in the mirror, seeing himself for who he truly is, and that is where the film ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video. Thanks for watching.